What's up, everybody? We'll be here shortly. My man,
Why, mate?
how are you?
I'm doing very well. That's good to hear. Make sure you're fixing up the hair. Come on now.
Well, you know, I tell you what, we get up at,
of all people.
of all people, well, you get up like that and then you go, okay, you know what? I got to get this thing going. But yeah, hold on. Dude, it's great to have you, man.
It's good to see you, mate. I feel like we've already done this before, but we haven't. It just
Well,
it's what happens when you're following someone. You're seeing their daily content, and I feel like I know you already.
I, the feeling is mutual. It's funny how things happen on LinkedIn, right? It's such a small community, yet such a big one. And I think it's been pretty neat to see how a community like that, it's really different than any other social media that we've seen. In that,
Very different. I mean, I've done the Facebook thing. I've done the Insta thing. Like WhatsApp. I mean, the whole lot. It's different. It's very supportive, very encouraging. And you're right. It is a small community, but I mean, it's also quite large, considering.
and compared to say like a Facebook, where for the most part it's all personal. I love LinkedIn because it really, even on the Facebook pages, people expect, the pictures of kids and grandkids and cats and vacations, and LinkedIn really has become that melding of everything. That, hey, I'm going to be able to post stuff on, my personal life and business and my friends and family and colleagues. It almost has become what Facebook probably was meant to be at a certain point. So
Love it. Yeah, but absolutely. And you have a choice. I mean, it's not all personal. I mean, we definitely throw a bit of personal in there every now and then, but we don't vomit on people with too much personal. So
absolutely. Well, I know that I really appreciate you coming. For everybody who is either watching or going to be watching, since we're 5 a.m. Central and 6 a.m. Eastern, why don't you introduce yourself? Not as though it's needed. You're everywhere on LinkedIn, but give everybody just a quick rundown of who you are, what you're doing, and kind of what your mission is on social media in general.
Yeah, sure, no problem. For those who don't know me, my name is Ahmad Imam. I am an ambassador, a presenter, a speaker, a content creator, a educator. I'm currently partnered with a company called Success Resources. Success Resources are the world's largest events and seminar promoter, which is incredible. It's probably one of the companies that I've dreamed of working with for a very long time, just because they're so aligned. In addition to that, I am a full-time content creator, more or less. I now educate people and coach people on how to create compelling content that really does hit the mark with their target audience. I also have a live show on LinkedIn, a weekly live show called Level Up TV that I co-host with a good friend of mine called Michael Lane from Success Resources. He's the managing director. Our goal there is really just to educate and help people level up in all areas of their life, and it's really fun to do. I am constantly speaking about either confidence or courage or content or kindness. My mission, macro mission, is to help 1 million people destroy their doubt and build the confidence and courage that they need to live their best life. A mission that I also have that's probably a little bit more ambitious and audacious is simply to help make this world a kinder place. So yeah, if you're not connected or following, please follow or please reach out and connect, and I'd love to get to know you.
Tell me more about your desire to make people more courageous, more encouraged. It seems as though we live in a world right now where that's probably the biggest thing I've seen people lacking these days. Tell me more about your desire, and how or when did you first start to really think this is something I got to speak about?
Yeah, look, I've had a long history with confidence, and it's really been a lack of. So I mean, since probably about age 15 is probably where I can think of it being the biggest issue in my life. So I mean, I was bullied a lot in school. Probably from about age 5 to 15, quite literally. And I got to a stage at age 15 where I was in a very dark place. You know, it took me to such a level that I couldn't look people in the eyes. I didn't even feel comfortable speaking because I felt like I didn't deserve to take up the voice space. Confidence for me, or a lack of confidence, was a very, very real thing, and it affected every part of my life. So I personally went on a journey for about 15 years to try and build confidence and build confidence back, and then take it one step further and be more confident than the average person. And to do that, I really jumped out of my comfort zone. I volunteered to do things that scared the daylights out of me because I knew I would grow from it. So, you know, volunteered to do things like public speaking and sales presentations and just stuff where I can get up in front of people and actually just, you know, do things that would terrify me. But in doing that for like 15 years, I mean, you build not only thick skin, but you also really build up this level of confidence unlike anything else. And you're right. I mean, it's something that so many people are lacking that you would be shocked. And people in executive positions, CEOs, general managers, people in positions that you think confidence wouldn't be an issue or courage wouldn't be an issue, a lot of people in those positions are lacking as well. And so I'm currently teaching people how to be more confident, how to be more courageous. And it comes from a place of very, very strong conviction, because I understand exactly what it feels like to not be able to communicate or not have the courage to just be yourself.
So tell us more about that, though, because I think anybody who watches you here on LinkedIn or sees your other content on other platforms, they would never in a million years think you had that issue. I mean, we all saw you rap with my good buddy David Breyer. Tell us more about that. I mean, growing up, what do you think the genesis of you having those kind of confidence issues were? And then when was that? You said that you put yourself through a bunch of different things to help you grow, but what was kind of that mark where you said, okay, I am comfortable doing this now. I know what I'm supposed to do. Just talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think that's really important, because understanding not only how it manifested, but then how I got to the stage where I'm doing what I'm doing now. And right now I am more naturally confident than anybody I know. And it's faking it. It's not putting it on. It's genuinely me right now. But I put myself through a very laborious process to get there. So, I mean, I reached the worst part of it, like I said, probably at age 15, where I let the bullying take over. I got to the stage where I was getting bullied for so long that you start to believe other people's opinions of you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really sad place to be in, where you're letting someone else dictate how much value you put on yourself. And I had a very low opinion of myself. I had very low self-esteem. I had, zero self-confidence. And so I had to build myself up from there. The moment that I decided that things needed to be different, I was actually about 18 years old. I was working at a pizza place. And I had a boss that was a serial entrepreneur and just an all-around nice dude. And he would come in and have a brief chat to me every time he came in. And like I said, he had multiple businesses, but he became a bit of a mentor to me. And I remember somewhere between 18 or 19, I approached him and I said, "Look, I'm moving on. I've got a different job, blah blah blah." And he sat me down. And he thanked me for my time there. And I mean, I was making pizzas and I was washing dishes.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the most glorious job in the world. And I was doing that reluctantly because I still had to communicate with people. Like I was out front making pizzas. So people were walking in and I'd have my head down and just trying to avoid speaking to anyone. And he saw this. He saw this over a couple of years. But he sat me down and he said, "Ahmed, look, I just want you to know that I appreciate everything that you've done. And I believe in you. I know that you don't believe in yourself. I see the way you walk around, the way you carry yourself. But I believe in you even though you don't." And he goes, "And you've got a lot of potential in you. You just have to start believing in yourself." And he gave me something that completely changed and shifted my entire mindset and trajectory. And he gave me a 24 disc CD set that was one of those old school Tony Robbins CD packages.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was called Personal Power 2. And at that time I had no, influence within self-improvement. I had no idea what self-improvement was really. And we're talking, probably around year 2000. It was literally around 2000, I think. So it came with this little yellow book. It said Anthony Robbins on the top, and that's how old it was. It wasn't Tony Robbins, it was Anthony Robbins. And Anthony Robbins, Tony Robbins was on there. He looks like a old school Arnold Schwarzenegger if he was an accountant. You know what I mean? He had the white shirt with the suspenders and the tie and the Arnold Schwarzenegger hairdo. And I had no idea who he was, but I put on that very first CD as soon as I got home. And as soon as I heard that voice, I was hooked, So I did that 30-day program, and that is what gave me the perspective and the confidence and courage just to take that next step, And that next step for me was putting myself in positions that would constantly scare me because I would grow through it. And so, the most important thing, and I mean, this is what I teach a lot of my clients in terms of trying to be fearless and trying to grow through those challenges, is just volunteer to do things that terrify you. For me at that time, I was doing things like volunteering to MC a friend's wedding, or volunteering to do a sales presentation in front of maybe 5 or 10 people, volunteering to do whatever, just a public speaking at any given opportunity. And it's painful at the time. But I mean, if you do that and you do that for years, you're not only building confidence, but you're building a level of thick skin that not many people have. And so that's what I did. I literally did that for 15 plus years. Mm-hmm. To the point that I got to the stage where I'm at now. And not only am I confident, and I mean this respectfully, I don't care what people think. I really don't. People's opinions don't mean much to me. And like I said, I say that respectfully and kindly, just because I value myself. I know already what I'm worth. And even though I'm happy to take on feedback and especially constructive criticism, it doesn't matter. But it took me a while to get there. And I'm proud to say that I'm very much there, and I'm comfortable doing anything right now. And you've seen the stuff that I do. The stuff that I do now requires, probably a lot of confidence and courage from the average person. And I'm having fun now, So I'm now teaching people how to do the same, because it completely shifts and changes your life and your lifestyle when you're able to take that attitude.
Tell me, just from that perspective, I mean, I think that a lot of people will take that kind of confidence you have no confidence, you get bullied, you have all the issues, and so many people can relate to that, right? Especially, by the way, not only as individuals, but then as parents and
Yeah.
what have you.
Yeah.
Tell me how you took that into your career, because I think when I first met you, you were doing still a ton of the same. I've seen more and more and just huge growth, even in the short time I've known you, in terms of it seems like you're speaking out more and more and more about that over the last year.
Yeah.
Tell me about how you took that into your professional life, even before you started coaching people on how to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I think you were in real estate before. Is that right?
Yeah.
So
So, I mean,
tell us about that. Tell us about how, because I think a lot of people can see, okay, so if you're really going to be coaching and training people on being courageous, that's one thing. But how do you take that into a normal job, right? A real estate, you're an accountant, you work the daily grind behind a desk. I think a lot of people have a hard time figuring out how to quantify it in a situation like that. So maybe you can run people through how you did that before you got to where you are right now.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, I've been in sales now for a good 15 years. So I mean, prior to let's say real estate, I was in the corporate space for a good 15 years. I mean, I've been, through nearly every type of industry you can think of, and sales training, and we can get to that at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But I was in real estate for about 6 years. I was helping buy property. So I was what you call a buyer's agent as opposed to a selling agent. So it's the opposite of a real estate agent. I was the director of a property consultancy in Sydney and had a team underneath me. So I started creating content purely because I knew it was something else that would challenge me. I didn't create content to build a large brand or to build a community or to build influence or anything like that. I did it because I was at the time a little bit uncomfortable in creating content and putting myself out there on video. And just because of the habit that I built, I know now if there's something that I'm uncomfortable with, I just have to do it and I have to nail it. And so for me, content creation was just something else to do with building up my confidence and kind of just conquering a space that I haven't been in. In terms of quantifying confidence and courage, it's difficult to just teach people confidence and courage as is and quantify that based on their job. And so for me, I've actually been able to teach people confidence and courage by using content creation as a vehicle, right? So creating content requires courage. You're telling the world that this is me, this is my story, and I want you to be a part of it, and putting yourself out on camera in front of people, allowing people to judge you. I mean, it's not easy for some. And when you think about it, content creators are a unique breed. I know there's a lot of people creating content right now and putting themselves out there, but it takes a unique person to create content, put yourself out there and post a video and not really care about, what people's opinions are, more or less. Yeah. And so using content creation as a vehicle has been a really positive way to help build that confidence in people. And I've seen people's confidence just shift over the course of months in terms of creating content. So it's a win-win situation. Not only do you build confidence and courage throughout the process by the program that I put people through, it also helps you become more visible, to put your brands out there, to position yourself as an expert. And so there's a lot of reward there as well.
It's funny you said that, and I was thinking as you were talking, back when you started to, you read Tony Robbins stuff and you listened to his stuff and you took his class. And at that point, like you just said, it was getting yourself out there and doing presentations. It was doing those sort of things to make yourself uncomfortable in order to grow. It seems to me like now some of those things aren't even needed because of the social media and the ability to create content and throw it out there. We don't need to figure out how to get 10, 15 people in a room. We really don't even need to figure out how to do anything other than get in front of your computer, turn on your phone, whatever it is, make a video and put it out there. Have you seen the content creation side maybe amplify people's ability to get to where you got to in a faster and more expedient fashion?
100%. I mean, I can't think of any other activity that you can do where you can be in front of thousands of people within days. You know, I mean, but back in the day, I mean, we would either have to cold call or put a process in place just to knock on a door or get in front of maybe one or two key decision makers, right?
Yeah.
I can post a video today and get 10,000 views and maybe have, you know, 1 or 2,000 key decision makers watching a piece of content just from me posting it on social. I mean, it's surreal. And when you think about it like that, you can be very, very conscious and strategic about the content that you put out, knowing that, you know, people are going to be viewing it, knowing that people are going to make a decision somewhere or another based on your content and the trust that they build from watching your content. It's just, we're in a different space right now, and anyone that's not taking advantage of it is just grossly missing out. And I can't stress that enough. And you don't need to, and we can touch on this, I'm sure. We're at the stage where you don't even need to sell right now. And when you don't need to sell right now, simply because you can put yourself out there and reach your target audience and just build enough trust where they want to reach out to you and do business with you, we're in a different place. And that's why I say you have to take advantage of it. And if that means first becoming comfortable with video content or content period, then so be it. But that's a very, very small price to pay, and something that can be figured out in the course of weeks or months as opposed to years. So absolutely, things have changed.
Tell us about that transformation with content with you. You know, where you started. I've seen from your side. I remember when we first connected, you still did a lot of videos back then. But it seems like the content, obviously, because you're better at it now and you've done it more, you have a feel for who you are. It seems like you're more confident putting yourself out there than maybe you were before. Talk to me about the genesis and the lifespan of where you started with content. Let's just use LinkedIn, for instance.
Yeah.
And then where you are now. Is there a strategy behind it? Obviously, there probably is. Talk to us just about that journey for you, and then maybe what your process is, because I'd like to get into now content creation and what you do right now. So maybe just talk to me about the life cycle of where you started, where you are now, and then just maybe some strategy and why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So prior to LinkedIn, I mean, I dabbled on Facebook, and I really just used Facebook to keep in touch with some families and distant cousins and things like that. It was absolutely pointless in my opinion. So I mean, I disconnected from Facebook a very, very long time ago, and I had nothing else to do with social. So I started LinkedIn in October of 2018. And I started off a virgin. I had no idea what I was doing. I was really just looking to other people on a platform that would pop up in my news feed and trying to emulate whatever I saw was working. I started off just doing articles and text posts. Again, I was just putting myself out there and desperate to try and hit the mark with anything. It wasn't until I started putting out video content. And I remember when I put out my first video, it was probably about a couple of months after I started. It took me 1 hour to record a 47-second video. And I'm not even kidding. And it didn't have much to do with a lack of confidence. It was more to do with me being self-conscious. I mean, I would record a video, watch it, you know, not like the fact that my nose looked too big or I didn't like the lighting, or I stuttered and stammered in a certain area. And I just kept doing that. I kept recording, watching it back, deleting, recording it, watching it back, deleting. And I did that for an hour until I got to a stage where about an hour in, I was like, you know what, this is it. Like, done is better than perfect. And I put it out there, I posted, and I didn't get many likes and comments. I think I got maybe like 100 views or something like that compared to thousands that I do now. But it was encouraging, and it was very supportive, and it gave me the confidence to continue doing video content. I decided probably in about, I don't know, November or December, I can't even remember, of 2018, again, a couple of months after I started, to tell a story. And this is the first time that I decided to be vulnerable on LinkedIn, and I wasn't quite sure of how that would work out, but I just knew that it was a story that had to be told, especially considering LinkedIn was a platform full of recruiters and job seekers and things of that nature. So I decided to put out a video that I called "Why Don't Recruiters Like My Name?"
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very sensitive story about a situation that I'd been through about 6 years earlier, where I was applying for jobs. I was in between jobs. I sent out my resume to about 30 different recruiters. And I got rejected by every single one of them. And after, speaking to a few people and having a bit of a laugh about why I was getting rejected for jobs, I was very much, it was pretty much within my reach.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't going for jobs that were out of my reach. They were jobs within my reach, within my skill set. I decided to conduct a bit of an experiment. And that experiment was I would take my resume, just leave it completely as is, but I would just change the name at the top of the resume from Ahmad Imam to Adam Smith, right?
Mm-hmm.
The most anglicized name I could possibly think of. And then I sent it out to the exact same 30 recruiters that rejected me. And I told this story, the fact that literally the very next day, I received 4 callbacks from the same recruiters that actually rejected me, telling me how much they loved my resume, how much I was a perfect fit for the role, and can I come in and speak to them about the next steps. So I know. And I told that story, and I wasn't expecting much of a response. I was just expecting to get some feedback from some people that I'd connected with at that point. The video went viral, and I'm talking about I'm talking about seriously viral. Like, I mean, I probably had maybe a couple thousand followers at that time, and I think the video got somewhere between 100 to 200,000 views, and that's not bad for someone that's got a couple thousand followers. And the comments were just, we were talking about comments from job seekers, comments from actual recruiters saying that, yes, we've experienced this. We've seen this happen. I've even done this myself at some points. It is something that happens, unfortunately, through to people that have been through the same thing and understand. I mean, it was just, it went bananas. But one thing that it made me realize is that the platform is very supportive and very encouraging. Everyone has a story to tell, and if it's a story that can positively impact somebody else or give someone else the confidence and courage to then live their life, then you almost have the obligation to share it. Okay, so that's what gave me the courage to start being vulnerable. In terms of what I'm doing now, I'm being a lot more vulnerable now than I was or used to, and it's because I've realized the power of being vulnerable. One, from a strategic standpoint, nothing builds trust faster than peeling back a few layers and giving people insight into the human that is behind the business, as opposed to just giving people insight into the business. You're giving people insight into the human that is behind the business. And when you build trust at that level, it's amazing how comfortable people are in terms of reaching out because of how much you resonate and relate to them. The other thing is I realized that I could actually positively impact people with my message. And that to me is more important than anything. So for me, more important than influence, I could care less about influence. For me, it's all about making an impact. And so just the other day, I put out a post about how a bit more detail about how I was bullied and how it made me feel. And I included a photo of me when I was a young age. I had at least 30 to 40 messages from people just thanking me for being open and honest and courageous enough for me to share that, telling me that they've been through the same thing, but they didn't want to share it. And then I had at least 4 or 5 people that reached out to me wanting to do business with me just for telling my story and building that trust. It's very, very easy to trust someone and relate to someone that is sharing such a human story through vulnerability. And I'm not saying be vulnerable for the sake of it. I'm just saying be real, just peel back a few layers and give people insight into you, the person that is behind the business.
That's one of the things that I talk about a lot, which is I don't think there's any way to separate business from your personal life, right? I don't think there's any way to separate work struggles from home struggles. The idea that someone gets engaged and the next day at work they pretend like nothing's different, or the person who gets fired from work comes home and they're just fine, right? There's no way to separate those things, yet I still think there's this stigma out there. That's why, I mean, what is it? Less than 1% of people actually create on a place like LinkedIn. And so I think that, to me, that speaks volumes for the inability for people to be vulnerable in front of other people they're trying to impress.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this on those lines. Do you think that the success you've had comes from your desire to make meaningful content, or does it come from your ability to, again, it's not that you don't care, because I've seen you care, your ability to step back and be good with whatever reaction you receive from the content? Which one do you think it is that's made that successful?
It's a combination of both. And if I can throw one more thing in, it's also just being very, very giving. I give a lot on the platform, even to this day. I mean, to this day, I don't necessarily need to like and comment on other people's posts to support them, but I do, because I completely appreciate how much people have done for me in terms of supporting me in my content and making me feel more confident, and making me want to put myself out there even more. I am a little bit confused when I hear people, professionals, that find it difficult to put themselves out there because they say it's a professional platform. I don't know what that means. So, I mean, we have to really think about that, because does that mean that we're putting on a mask when we're going out there every single day and going to work and dealing with customers? Because if we are, then that's something that you have to think about. Why are you putting on a mask? Like you say, why isn't the person that you are, the human being that you are, aligned with the person that you are at work? Because that's the person that needs to show up if you're to really connect and resonate with people. So I've very much kept that in mind. I've now been just fearless with how I approach things. You're right. It's not that I don't care. I absolutely care, more than most people. It's I take negative opinions about me very, very lightly. Because I'm very sure of myself now. I'm more than comfortable to take constructive criticism if it's constructive. I just don't let people. I just don't let people in terms of negativity as much as I used to, and that's a way for me to not only embrace who I am but protect who I am, and that's very important. So to answer your question, yeah, look, it's been a combination of being fearless and putting myself out there, and not really worrying too much about being judged. Two, it's also making sure that the person I am, the human being that I am at home, is completely aligned with the person that you see if I'm face to face with you at a client meeting. And three, it's also just giving so much, where the law of reciprocity kicks in, and people, when they see my content, they almost have to comment and engage just because they want to show that love back. So I mean, there's a lot of things there that really have led to my success, but they're probably the main three that I can think of.
It's when I'm thinking of people who have told me their difficulty with creating content, I think a lot of people struggle with how to balance. We'll call it personal business, but really it shouldn't be. It just should be life, right? How do you balance the industry posts for what you do for a living, giving people the ability to know you're an expert, and personal posts that show people who you are? Have you heard that? And then two, how do you talk to someone about the blend of content they make?
Yeah, look, I teach my clients, because I mean, let's be real. We all need to, yes, show our true selves and be our true selves. And I've seen you do things like pick up a guitar and sing. You've seen me put on a track and rap. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, we're probably not the best example. We're not saying for you to do that.
Right.
We're just simply saying for you to just really understand who you are as a person, and show people that side of you. Show people the person that you are when you're at home playing with your kids, because we're all human. We all go home at the end of the day, put on a pair of shorts and do the same thing. We play with our kids as well. But I think it's very important to understand what can come from just really being your true self on the platform. And I'm not saying to go out there and do things that would terrify people, because I know now in speaking to so many people that the biggest fear that people have is the fear of being judged, the fear of what are my colleagues going to think, what is my boss going to think, what is my company going to think, what are my clients going to think, because you've already created this persona or this character that they've seen, and you don't want them to see this other real character that you have. But I tell my clients, look, spend 80% of time just trying to build trust. 80% of your time is dedicated to just building trust, putting yourself out there, making sure people see different sides of you, peeling back a few layers. You can talk about things like your values, your hobbies, your interests, what really drives you, your dreams, your aspirations, just whatever you feel will build trust and add value at the same time. And almost consider that as what Gary Vee would call a jab, right? So, I mean, they're the jabs, and you keep on jabbing. It's jab, 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 jab for most of the week, for most of the month. But every now and then, I'd say about 20% of the time, you would make sure that you come in with the right hook. And that's when you can start talking about sales. And when I say sales, talk about what you do, the value proposition, your product, your services, how you actually assist and benefit people. Just make sure that you're not doing that frequently. Where you actually really should be getting clients in is not just the content piece, but also the outreach that you're doing from the back end. You see, a lot of people that I work with just think that they can become a content creator, and all of a sudden it's like the holy grail. It's like the heavens open up, and from putting out one piece of content, you're going to get 10 clients. No, it doesn't work like that. It only works like that once you built up a very, very large following, like perhaps where I'm at now. But believe me, that's not the way to approach it. You continue creating compelling and powerful and value-add content that remains on your platform, on your profile, but the magic actually happens behind the scenes in the direct messages. So the idea is to have a combination of offense and defense. And I was speaking to a friend, and she put it so eloquently that way. And that's a combination of the content creation, putting yourself out there, and also then, the offense, which is actually then reaching out to people via direct message and pitching, more or less, but building relationships. The idea is that when you put yourself out there in direct message and you don't do a hard sell, it's a very, very soft sell. It's more relationship building than anything. And then when people check out your profile to find out who the hell is this person that's talking to me, and they can then see all that social proof. They can then see you speak on video and the content that you're creating and all the people that you're helping and making an impact on, and you've built that social proof and credibility. They end up going through maybe 50 to 60% of the decision-making process prior to you even then having a sit-down meeting with them. In fact, it should get to the stage where by the time you have a sit-down meeting with them, they're already 60% convinced, and you really just have to show up as the person that they've seen on video just to make sure that that correlates, and you've likely got their business. Okay, but it's both creating content and putting yourself out there, and doing that outreach. Now, if you're not doing the outreach personally, then of course there's thousands of people that you can hire and outsource that to, that do that very, very well on a platform, but you have to do both.
Yeah, what you said there, going back to that 80-20 rule, I think that's where people struggle. I think
Right.
I don't know about anymore about the whole 1% thing of people that actually create content. I would say that I see a lot of stuff out there, but most of it, pardon my French, it's just crap.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily that it doesn't hold value, but I'm going to be just like anybody else. I'm going to look at what I think is interesting. And if I see the same thing over and over again from someone, if I see someone who is, in sales, if I see someone who is in sales, who every single day they're giving me variations of their sales tips, eventually there's only so many sales tips. So you're repeating the same stuff over and over again, which, by the way, we all do in content creation anyway, right? I talk to people with what we do. I only have 4 or 5 macro pieces of content that we can really talk about, right? In sales training, prospecting, overcoming objections, building relationships, et cetera, et cetera. So eventually you're going to be saying the same things over and over again. The struggle that I see is most people don't, I think they probably reverse that, if at all, right? They say, hey, I'm going to do 80, 90, some of them 100%, all on business, all on tactical.
100%. And look, it's painful to watch, and it's painful to experience. I see people that do just that. They have such the wrong perception of this platform that they think that every piece of content that they put out has to have a strong call to action, right? As in every piece of content they put out has to talk about their next webinar or their next course, or, you know, how to become a client, and put out a call to action on every single piece of content. And you know what, as a person that's viewing and experiencing that content, it's not only exhausting, but, you know, the way you come across is desperate. And I personally don't actually want to do business with those people. I want to do business with people that I resonate with, that I relate to, people that aren't doing the equivalent of a used car salesman just screaming at me to do business with them and almost forcing me to do it. I want to do business with you because I want to do business with you, not because you're desperate and throwing yourself at me every single day. And so people need to understand that on the platform. I want to do business with someone that I like and someone that I trust. And so if that means that 80% or 90% of the time you're talking about, you know, just maybe your opinion about certain matters, or like I said, you're uncovering different layers about you, or you're picking up a guitar and singing and it's different from all the other stuff that's in the news feed. I just want to build that trust, because trust takes time to build. In fact, I was doing some research, and I mean, even just up until 10 years ago, it used to take 6 touch points or 6 interactions for someone to get to the stage where they say, yes, I want to do business with that person. And I'm happy to do a transaction with that person. And now it takes 26 touch points, right? So, I mean, that could be 26 pieces of content. It could be 26 days. It could be doing a blog or a video or a text post or an email marketing, whatever it might be. You need 26 touch points and interactions for someone to actually say, you know what, I'm happy to do business with that person. So make sure that you're doing something different from the average person. Make sure you're building trust. And above all else, you're just giving away free value and you're not asking for anything else in return. That's the key. Okay. Because when you give me some value and then at the end of it, you're asking for my business, you've lost me. Yes. Right. That's not free value. That's an exchange in some capacity. I want to receive free value from you where, you know, I can jump on LinkedIn, and let's say I can jump on LinkedIn and all of a sudden I see some amazing sales tip from you. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even consider that. And then you just leave it as is. You don't even do a call to action. Or I jump on and you're playing the guitar and singing and you entertain me. And I'm like, oh man, Josh is cool. And you build up that trust that way. 80-90% of the time, you have to build trust and put out content without asking for anything in return. And that is how you get their hearts and you get their attention. So
let's now, we've kind of skirted around it a little bit. We've talked a lot about content. Tell us about, and whether you like it or not, I'm going to get you to give us towards the end some sort of call to action, because I want people to know how to get a hold of you and talk more about content. But without giving away everything, talk to me about what someone can expect in working with you when it comes to your content creation services, and to maybe just, by the way, tell us how you would describe it, and then tell people about what they would be in store for when they partner with you.
Yeah, for sure. And look, this is the amazing thing about where I'm at now. I actually do 0 call to actions. You don't see a call to action from me. And the incredible thing is I probably get approached maybe by 2 or 3 people per day. Easily, let's say 10 to 15 people per week asking me, can I just do business with you? Right. You know, because they've seen my content. It's more or less like, can you just teach me to do what you do? So I take people through, let's say, a 4-week program, one-on-one coaching, whether you get personally coached by myself. I teach you how to create content, how to edit content, how to build up confidence, but more than anything, just essentially do what I've done, and that's how to position yourself as an expert within your industry, within your particular niche, and how to be accountable to yourself to continue putting out regular content. So after 4 weeks, you become comfortable in creating content. You start creating compelling and value-add content. You're comfortable in putting yourself out there. You make a name for yourself on the platform. And then I teach you how to hold yourself accountable and be consistent with it so that you can do the things that I've done and, let's say, do the things that you've done as well. So, yeah, feel free to reach out to me. Send me a DM on LinkedIn if you're interested. My target audience are probably people that are starting off on their content creation journey, or perhaps they're a little bit hesitant about scaling their content, or maybe they might be currently putting out one piece of content per month, or they're just sharing posts and they don't see the value in becoming a content creator. Let's have a chat. And I can guarantee you within a half an hour call, I can talk to you about the benefits of becoming a content creator in addition to what you're currently doing for your business or for yourself.
You know, I don't know if you realize this, but really the stuff that you're talking about building experiences for the people who are watching or reading. And that really is kind of the basic tenet of the sales rebellion when it comes to how we do business, right? It's we believe in experiential sales, the idea that, along what you just said, if I create the same piece of content, by the way, every single day, and the same piece of content that everyone else sees on a consistent basis, it's boring, it's normal, it's white noise. And the idea that every time we're in front of someone, we should be figuring out how to create an experience, because experiences create emotion. Emotions are needed in order to build trust and relationships, which is what eventually, like you just said, allows me to create content, you to create content. Dale Dupree, Michael David Chapman, all these other people that we know and love create content without having to put a call to action all the time, which then allows people to reach out to us. And that's what everybody here wants. So,
you know what the amazing thing is, I've gotten the most number of clients by putting out posts that have nothing to do with how I assist in terms of the service that I provide. It's really just been a post that has just hit so true to them and their values, and just rocked them to the core, that they felt compelled to reach out to me as a human being and want to do business with me in some capacity, because it was just so true to them. And it could have been something about confidence, or the fact that I've spoken about bullying, or the fact that I've spoken about bias or discrimination, or the fact that I've spoken about how to be courageous. It's amazing how people connect as human beings. And I mean, let's put it this way. I mean, you and I have a lot in common. And even though you talk about sales every now and then, most of the time you actually don't. And I understand you as a human being. And if I wanted to reach out to a sales coach, you know, you're one of the first people on my list, just because I feel like I know you at a human level and I relate to you as a human being more than, let's say, your experience as a salesperson. And you're highly experienced as a salesperson anyway. But that's the power of connecting with someone outside of that professional persona. So I'm 100% with, you know, the experience that you can provide to people on the platform by having a touch point and experience with you, you know, Joshua or Ahmad, as a person, as a human.
So I guess we got to wrap it up here pretty soon, but I wonder if you have thoughts on this. And I've been trying to think. I'm always trying to think, whether it's content or business or personal on social media, what's the next thing? So as you remember, you just talked about it. When I first got on LinkedIn and even on Facebook putting stuff, it was all written. Started doing pictures. LinkedIn, by the way, has shown us that they hate pictures, right, at a certain extent, but I don't care. And then it was video. What do you think the next big thing is in terms of content? Is there something that you see on the horizon, or is it more of something that we're already doing? What do you see as the next big thing?
Yeah, for me, I'm trying to tap into that right now. And I believe the next big thing is what we're doing right now. First of all, LinkedIn is hungry for creative content,
Mm-hmm.
starving for it, just because they've been without it for so long. You know, it's like approaching someone that's been walking through the desert for a month, and you've got a bottle of water in your hand. You know, they're desperate for that bottle of water. LinkedIn is desperate for creative content, and whatever that looks like. And you'll notice the creative content on the platform, the content that's a little bit different from the other stuff that you see in the feed, is climbing to the top. What I feel is going to be the future is live shows, and especially unique live shows. And so right now, the stuff that Michael Lane and I are doing, we're actually trying to create a TV show using the LinkedIn Live platform. And you can use many different platforms like the one that we're using now, which is StreamYard. You can use Restream, whatever it is, to go live on multiple platforms at the same time, be it LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. And it's providing a different experience to your potential clients than they would ordinarily receive just from regular feed content. So just like now, let's say we have potential clients and audience watching this. They have the opportunity to ask questions to us directly and have us respond live. You can't do that with any other piece of content, you know, unless you actually physically call our businesses and have a conversation with us, or we have a client meeting. But this is a way for you to connect with us in a very casual setting to understand what we're like as human beings, and make your decision and build your trust that way. So I feel that it's all going to be about live and being comfortable with lives and adding value and experience with lives. And so anyone out there that hasn't jumped on a live yet, now's the time to really get used to it. You know, so it doesn't matter what size your audience is. It doesn't matter what platform you use. You could be using Facebook Live or YouTube Live, LinkedIn Live, but just get used to the idea of making yourself live and available to your potential audience in a different way.
I love it. I love it. Well, my friend, I know that it's getting to that time right here. I've got to start getting running, and you're about to start ending. So look, love you, man. Thank you so much for coming on. I hope we can do it again soon. I would love to have you, if you'd be open to it, be on a live with the rest of the coaches. It'd be nice to bring you in and coach some other people on some of the things you're doing. If you're watching this either now or later today, reach out to Ahmad. I'll say this without anything else, he's just a good guy. And I've gotten to know Ahmad over the last couple of years, and everything you're seeing here is who he is. Genuine, open, real, great guy. Plus, again, we didn't get him to rap, but maybe we can have you and I and David Breyer on at one point. We'll just do a musical mashup.
Yeah, 100%. And it can be live. It can be raw. We'll just make it happen for sure.
Excellent. I appreciate, my friend. Have a good rest of your night.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate you too. All the best.
See you, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.